Hi, Miss Karen here. It's been a long time since we had a science time. I had this one planned for back in March and we didn't get to do it. So I thought we'd do it now. I'm going to talk about bees today. There are some kinds of bees that you might know. They're easy to see in your yard, the bumblebees. You also probably know about honeybees because, well, they make honey and who doesn't like that? But another kind you might not know so well is the mason bee. And this is a picture of a mason bee on some forget-me-nots. And he's a little hard-working bee that you can invite to live in your yard. They're native to our part of the world and to a lot of the world. And they are important because just like honeybees, they pollinate flowers. And when that happens, the plant can make seeds or fruit, and that helps grow a lot of the food that we eat and that the animals in our lives eat. So they're very important. What happens when a bee pollinates is he goes in to drink the nectar in the center of the flower, and then the pollen gets all over his body, kind of like this. You can see it stuck all over him there. And then he goes to the next flower and it rubs off his body, and that helps the flower grow a seed or fruit. So that's important. Honeybees are kept by people because they not only do this, but they make honey. But their numbers are going down, declining. And so we can help mason bees set up in our yards by making a house. And we're going to do that as one activity today. Also by planting flowers like forget-me-nots, alyssum, cosmos, things that have like one layer of petals and then the pollen in the center are their favorites. You can also make sure that there's somewhere they can drink water. You can put out a little tray with pebbles and water, and butterflies will also drink from that. There should be a place they can get mud, because what mason bee does is they like to live in tubes, sort of like the ones that this one is coming out of, and they lay their eggs inside. And they need mud, so this is a cross section. So they take a wall of mud and then they put in a little loaf that they make out of nectar and pollen, and they lay their egg on it, and then they make a new wall of mud, and they keep doing that until they fill the tube up with eggs. And that's how they make more mason bees. So you want mud nearby that they can use for that, preferably right below where you hang your little house. And another thing that you can do is leave dandelions in your yard. That's one of their earliest natural food sources. You can use fewer chemicals in your lawn and your garden because a lot of those chemicals are harmful to bees. And why don't we get started making a bee house? For this activity, we're going to make a house for the mason bees to live in. And what you'll need is a 28-ounce vegetable can or a 1-pound coffee can. And we're going to fill the can with paper tubes, or you can fill it with natural materials. If you find something like this in your yard, this was from my daylilies last year, you can cut it to length to fit your can. And it has a hollow opening, and you could gather a bunch of these, or you can make it with paper. And you're going to fill up the whole can. You want to put glue in the bottom of the can so that you can secure first your paper tubing, and they're going to help secure everything. And then you're going to fill this up with either the natural tubes or scrap paper tubes that I'm going to show you how to make in just a moment. Once it's all full, you're going to hang this in your backyard, somewhere where it's not going to get rained on, but where early morning sunshine will shine on it, and the mason bee will lay eggs inside the tubes. To make your paper tubes, you want to cut a piece of paper into fourths. So this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of printer paper, cut in half lengthwise and then again crosswise. Take a pencil. If it doesn't have ridges, it's easier. and roll up the piece of paper. And then take clear tape and tape it like that. It takes a lot of rolls of paper, so this is a great rainy day activity. It takes about 75 rolls to fill each of the cans. So again, then hang it at about a child's eye level from somewhere where it's not going to blow around, and your mason bees will lay eggs, and it'll be very helpful to them to have housing. Okay, so now that we've made a place for our bees to live, we should make some food for them to eat. So we're going to make a place to start some seeds indoors. You want to do a simple flower, something like forget-me-nots, or I've got seeds for alyssum. And then you need an empty 2-liter bottle. Clear lets the sun shine through best, but green works just fine. You're going to need an awl to poke a hole in the lid. I've already done that, as you can see. And then some cotton string. This is kitchen string. It could also be embroidery thread, anything like that. And then you'll also need some potting soil. So the first thing you're going to do is have a grown-up cut your bottle in half. It's a little hard to get started. And then you're just going to go all the way around. And you're going to be putting this like this with water in the bottom and dirt in the top. So if this edge is a little rough, that's okay. But if this one's a little rough and has sharp parts, you can trim it up now that it's apart, so that you don't end up slicing your finger on it. All right. Then the next step is going to be to thread the string through your hole in the lid. And you can again use your awl to push the end of the string through, or if you wanted to use a large embroidery needle, you could do that. This is going to prove easier said than done. So, and once you get that through, I'm going to have to think up a trick for this. I'll be right back. So I went and got a twist tie, and I'm going to insert my string through that, and then insert that through my hole and use it to pull through. So you want this end that's on the top long enough that when you have it in your bottle top, so you're going to put this back on your bottle. You want the string to pool down in the bottom of the lower part of the bottle, and then this piece is going to lay inside your soil. So I'm going to trim this a little. And you're going to just kind of separate it out into threads, and then you're going to tie a nice fat knot to keep it from slipping through the hole and into your bottle. All right, so we've got a nice knot. We should make sure that's going to hold. Yep, that's going to hold. So the next step, so we're going to hold the thread so it's up and put in some potting soil. Then you want to take all the strands and just sort of spread them out so that they lay inside the dirt going in different directions. What's going to happen is we're going to fill this bottom portion with water, and the thread will help pull the water up into the soil to keep the soil nice and moist for our seeds. And that will help them to grow. All right. And smooth that out. And you're going to want to sprinkle some seeds on. And as you can see, these are teeny tiny seeds. Just sprinkle them in on the top. Different kinds of bees love different flowers, but most bees love simple flowers. That means just one layer of petals. Zinnias, alyssum, cosmos, things like that. Forget-me-nots. So the next thing you're going to do is put some water in the base, water the top of the soil, and put this on a sunny windowsill and see what happens. Hopefully, in a week or so, you'll see your plants starting to grow. And then once they get about an inch or so tall, you can take them outside and transplant them into your garden somewhere near where you've set up your bee house. To demonstrate pollination, you'll need 3 cups or bowls. They should be shallow enough it's easy to reach the bottom and wide enough that you can easily get your fingers inside them. They don't have to be clear. You'll need 3 rubber bands. You'll need some cheese puffs. And then you'll also need 3 tissues and a pair of scissors. First, you're going to take your 3 cups and line them up. Then, you're going to put a few Cheetos in each one. Doesn't matter if they're broken, you don't need whole ones. Then you need to clean your hands. The next step is to take your tissue, place it on top of your dish, and secure it with a rubber band. And you'll do this for each of the 3 dishes. So the dishes are going to represent the flowers. Our cheese puffs are going to represent both the nectar and the pollen, and our fingers will be our bees. So now you're going to cut a slit in the top of each tissue. And now your bee is going to go into the first flower and get some nectar. You can eat your nectar, or you can place it on a napkin for later. Now your bee goes into the next flower and gets some nectar from there. Then your bee goes into the next flower and gets some nectar from there. And then he goes back to the first and into the second and into the third. And as your bee goes in and out of the flowers getting nectar, you'll notice he leaves some of the pollen or cheesy mess behind because it's stuck all over the bee. And that's how pollination happens.